Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Jasmine, and welcome back to another weekly weigh-in vlog. For any of you who might be new here, I have been on a weight loss journey using the compounded GLP-1 medication tirzepatide since January 1st of 2024. I am currently down close to 150 pounds. I share my weekly weigh-ins along with other weight loss related content here, so if that is something you're into, be sure to hit the subscribe button. So today is Tuesday, August the 15th. I do my weigh-ins and shot days on Tuesdays. I am currently on 12.5 milligrams of tirzepatide. So that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the weigh-in. Last Tuesday on August the 5th, I weighed in at 196.2. As of this morning, I weighed in at 195.2. So that is a loss of 1 pound for the week, and that brings my overall loss to 148.6 pounds. I'm feeling really good about 1 pound this week. I definitely know that over the weekend I went a little bit crazy, and so I was not expecting to honestly have much of a loss for the week, so I'll definitely take it. One thing that I did differently this past week, and actually I did it the week before as well, I just forgot to mention it here, is I have actually changed up my injection site. So when I first started my journey, and honestly for the first probably like year of my journey, I did all of my injections in my lower belly. I have had a C-section, and so I still have some like nerve damage related to the C-section, and I'm like pretty numb in my lower belly area. And so that was kind of my like hack to like have a painless injection, was just to do it where I literally could not feel it. Since then I have tried different sites. So for a while I switched to doing it above my belly button, which I do feel like I noticed a difference when I made that switch, and it was not painful. Let me just be clear, like even switching sites to where I can feel it, the injection is not painful. So I was doing above my belly button for a couple of months, and then like I said last week, well I guess it's been 2 weeks now, I decided to try out the backs of my arms. So I did this last Tuesday. I had a little bit of medication left in one vial, but not enough for a full dose, so I ended up having to open a new vial. And I don't like using the same syringe for like multiple vials because I feel like it kind of blunts the needle a little bit, and so I ended up just pulling up 2 syringes, and I did one in each arm. And I have to say, I definitely feel like it has made a difference in the overall effectiveness of the medication. I noticed that particularly like a day or two after I did my injection, I mean, the food noise was much quieter than it has been. I know a lot of people talk about, you know, with the GLP-1s that they completely take away the food noise, and I do feel like that was true in the beginning, like maybe for definitely the first 6 months for sure. And then I feel like since then it's kind of weaned off a bit. Not fully, like I still do get the food noise reduction, but I would say, you know, now that I've been on a GLP-1 continuously for, I want to say it's like about 19 months now, I definitely have noticed a decrease in the food noise suppression. But I think switching up, doing the back of my arms, I noticed that it definitely has been a bit more effective than where I was doing it on above my belly button. Like, yeah, I just noticed that the food noise was more quiet, and also the hunger pains were not there. And I found myself just kind of being able to go like longer periods of time without really thinking about food or wanting to eat. So I feel like if you're kind of struggling with your injection, feeling like the effects are kind of wearing off for you, I would definitely recommend maybe switching up the injection site, trying, you know, maybe your arm or a different part of your stomach. I have not tried my thigh. That area kind of scares me for some reason. But yeah, I was able to do the back of my arm though, like I said, by myself, and it honestly was not painful either. So I definitely recommend switching things up if things are getting a little bit stale. As far as side effects for this past week, I don't really have anything major to talk about. I was having some constipation, but I finally picked up a tub of my Belly Welly, and since I've been taking that, things have started moving again. This time around though, I did pick up the Tropical Breeze flavor of the Belly Welly, and I have to say it's not my favorite. Before I was using the Strawberry Lemonade flavor, and that one was better, but yeah, I don't really like the Tropical Breeze, so I think next time I'll probably try, I'm thinking maybe the berry flavor, the purple one. But yeah, other than that though, no major side effects to really report. Moving on to non-scale victories for this past week. So I recently posted a vlog where I kind of took you guys along as I was trying to do some shopping. You know, since losing almost 150 pounds, I honestly have had kind of a hard time like figuring out my new sense of style, but also my new size, like actually figuring out what size I am in clothes from different stores and stuff. It's been honestly a challenge. But that being said, this past week I did end up making a second attempt to find some clothes. I ended up going to JCPenney, which I haven't been like shopping, like clothes shopping at JCPenney in a while. I feel like a couple months back I went and found like a little romper, but since then I really haven't gone back. But I went this past week and looked around. They were having like their, I don't know, some big sale, and I was successful in finding some jeans. So I picked up 2 pair of jeans, both in a size 14, which I honestly was super shocked to fit in a 14, because last I tried on pants, I pretty much have been in a 16, but the 16s are getting a little looser from American Eagle. But I was able to fit into a size 14 in Arizona jeans from JCPenney. Now, obviously, you know, the Arizona jeans do have stretch in them. They're not like super rigid jeans per se, but regardless, they fit, they look good. I will try to take some pictures to just show you guys. But yeah, I found 2 pairs of jeans, and then I did find a dress, kind of a denim, no, it's not denim, it's like a velvety kind of material, a cute little dress, and I will try to put a picture of that as well. And that was in a size large, and these all were from the junior section, which I was, like I said, kind of surprised. In the past, I have not been able to really find clothes in the junior section at JCPenney or really anywhere, but here lately I'm finding that I'm actually able to find stuff in the junior sections. And so yeah, that was kind of a cool non-scale victory. And then I also was looking at their shoes, and I tried on a pair of tennis shoes. Usually I wear a 9.5. When I was at my heaviest, I was rocking more so a 10 in shoe size, and I was able to fit into a size 9 in the tennis shoes I tried on. So my foot has shrunk, which is interesting. I think honestly just probably the swelling was what was causing me to, you know, have to wear a bigger size when I was heavier. And since the swelling has gone down tremendously, I'm able to fit into a smaller shoe size, which is also interesting but very cool. So yeah, like I said, overall I have been having some success in finding clothes. It's gonna be a process. I've come to the realization that there's just no way I'm gonna be able to like completely overhaul my wardrobe like at one time. It's gonna take some time. I'm gonna have to just kind of find pieces as I go, and you know, I'm okay with that, because at the end of the day I still have over 50 pounds that I am trying to lose to get to goal. So obviously I don't want to completely restock my wardrobe with a bunch of clothes that I will ultimately probably have to end up replacing again once I do get to goal. So yeah, it's gonna be a process, but that's okay. Another thing though that I did pick up this past week is I did finally measure myself for my bra. So this might be TMI, but basically the last time I got fitted for a bra, I did it in person at Cacique. They measured me, and that was when I was heavier. I don't remember what weight I was at that point. I had lost a little bit of weight, but I was still much heavier. At that time, I got fitted into, I think it was a 42D maybe. And so basically though, all those bras that I bought back at that time no longer fit me. They all are too big. So I looked up how to measure myself for my bra size, and I did that, and I ordered a bra from Victoria's Secret online because they were having a sale, and I found a really cute one, and it came in. I'm wearing it now. I'm not going to show y'all, but basically I am officially in a 38 double D. So which honestly is shocking to me because I cannot remember the last time my band size was anything less than a 40. I want to say at my heaviest, my band size was like a 46, which for those of you who don't know how bra sizing works, basically when you measure around your like rib cage under your breast, that is your band size. And so 46 is like 46 inches around. And so now I am a 38, and I honestly think the last time my band size was in the 30s was probably like in maybe middle school or high school. So yeah, that was just another, I guess, non-scale victory. So in last week's video, my monthly recap, I had mentioned how, you know, July was a really great month overall as far as like my weight loss health journey was concerned. However, July was a really difficult month, just both for my community where I live, because of the flash flooding that we experienced that killed a lot of people. And then also there was a more personal family event that occurred in July that I said I would talk about a little bit in this week's video, and so that is what I'm going to be talking about now. And I do want to just give kind of a trigger warning for anyone who is uncomfortable with talking about unaliving events. I appreciate you for watching the video up to this point, and I would say now would probably be a good time to exit the video because that's what I'm going to be talking a little bit about here going forward. So I have a very small family. I do not have any siblings that I grew up with. I do have half siblings, but basically I grew up as an only child, and my father was not in the picture, and so it was pretty much me, my mom, and then my grandmother had a son who was 2 years older than me, so he was technically my uncle, but for the majority of our childhood we honestly grew up like siblings. We were neighbors, and so we just grew up playing together all the time, and we were really close when we were really young. And so that is kind of like my family. My extended family is just, you know, my grandmother, and I do have a grandfather, but he is not with my grandmother. Anyways, family dynamics aren't really important here. But essentially, growing up, I had one uncle that I was close with, and we were close in age. As we got older and as he became a teenager, he struggled with a lot of mental health issues. Specifically, he ended up getting diagnosed with schizophrenia. I want to say when in like maybe his early 20s. And you know, schizophrenia is a really, really devastating disease, and just witnessing what he went through with his diagnosis and with his mental health struggles, it was really hard to watch. And as we got older, we kind of grew apart. He and his mental health kind of continued to deteriorate as he got older. he was never able to really take care of himself. Like, he was never able to go out and live on his own or work, you know, have a job or have a girlfriend, like anything like that. Like, he lived with my grandmother, and my grandmother is still neighbors with my mom. They live in like a duplex and they're neighbors, and my mom would kind of help with, you know, him with his doctor appointments and just kind of help my grandmother, because, you know, my grandmother is getting older, and so she would help kind of take care of Steven. So about 2 weeks ago, and honestly this is kind of hard to talk about, but essentially 2 weeks ago I made the decision I wanted to go to my hometown. Like, basically they live in the town next over to us, which is where I'm from, but I don't go there often to visit just because it's hard with, you know, working every weekend, and then I have my daughter all week, and so basically I don't go visit my grandmother or Steven often. But about 2 weeks ago, on a whim, on a Wednesday, I decided I wanted to just go and visit my grandmother, take my daughter to see her. I don't know what really compelled me to do that, but I'm glad that I did. I went to go see my grandmother, and of course Steven was there, and, you know, he was happy to see me, happy to see Aubrey, and, you know, everything seemed fine. We visited for a little bit, and we ended up leaving, and I went actually to go visit my grandfather, who also lives in the same town, but I took my daughter over to see him for a little bit before we headed home. And it was maybe an hour or two, maybe about 2 hours after we had left my grandmother's. We had made it back home, and I got a call from my mom basically telling me that there were EMS people at my grandmother's house. She didn't really know what was going on because she was at work, but she was, you know, heading over there to see what was happening. Basically there was an ambulance and EMS people in my grandmother's house, but she didn't know what was going on. She just knew because her boyfriend was home and they wouldn't tell him anything. So essentially though, she ended up calling me back a little bit later to tell me that my uncle Steven had taken his own life. God. I really was not wanting to cry in this. I mean, it's been 2 weeks, but obviously it's still pretty fresh, but at the same time I feel like grief kind of is weird. Like, it comes in waves, and I feel like sometimes I feel okay, and then sometimes it just kind of hits you. But yeah, so basically that is what happened, and it's been really hard for me and my family. It's been especially hard for my grandmother, who, you know, she's relatively young. I mean, she's in her 60s, and, you know, she obviously was his full-time caregiver for his whole life, which was not easy for her, but that was her son, and so she's had a particularly hard time with this whole, with everything. And so because of that, basically she's made the decision she doesn't really want to do like a ceremony or service for him. His father is a veteran, or was a veteran, and he was buried in a military cemetery, and so that is where Steven will be buried. He'll be buried with his dad, and my grandmother doesn't really want to do any type of like memorial or anything for him, and I understand that. You know, she's a very private person, and I couldn't imagine losing a child in the way that she did. At the same time though, I feel like everyone deserves to be remembered. And so I really debated even talking about it on here, just because I know it's a little bit, you know, it's morbid and not something that a lot of people would probably share on the internet. But I feel like just given the circumstances, you know, Steven, I mean, he struggled for his whole life with his mental illness, and I know that, you know, he didn't have a lot of friends and he didn't have a lot of family, and, you know, not having a service for him, I feel like I want to remember him in some way. So I just wanted to dedicate this video to him and just kind of share his story. I feel like when you have a family member or a loved one who decides to unalive themselves, it honestly just hits differently than losing a loved one who maybe passes from natural causes. I've never experienced this type of grief, but what I would like to say is to anyone who is struggling with their mental health and who is considering self-harm or unaliving yourself, I would just like to encourage you to really stop and think about how it'll affect everyone around you, because I feel like, you know, like I said, Steven didn't have a lot of friends or family, but the community, you know, where he lives, the people who do know about what happened, I mean, everyone has been affected by it, and you just don't know how doing something like that will affect people, and you don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This has been really hard to film and really hard to talk about, and like I said, I'm not trying to trigger anyone, and I apologize if this is triggering to anyone, but I just feel like Steven deserves to be remembered, and I have a small platform of people, and if all I can do is share his story with the people who see this video, then I'm happy to do that. So thank you guys for being here, and like I said, I just wanted to do something that I could do to remember Steven, because he deserves to be remembered. And so thank you all for being here to remember him. And if you are somebody who is struggling with mental illness or mental health issues, just know that you are not alone, and there are people who do care and who love you, and the world does need you. If you made it this far, leave a broken heart emoji in the comments section to let me know, and in memory of my uncle Steven. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Thank you guys for watching. I will see y'all in my next one.